Have you ever felt darkness seeping into every cell of your body as invisible hands grip your throat, making your heart pound in agony? Get ready, because you're about to confront entities without boundaries. Shadows come to life, whispers turn into sinister threats, and fear becomes your constant companion. Forget about sleep and peace. We're opening the doors to a world where night not only hides, but hunts your deepest fears. Turn up the volume, get comfortable, and prepare to be shaken to your core.
Nestled at the edge of a dense, whispering forest, the old orphanage stood as a solemn guardian of forgotten childhoods. Built upon an ancient burial ground, its weathered facade bore witness to the passage of time, with ivy creeping up the stone walls and windows that seemed to sigh with the weight of untold stories. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of dust and aged wood, while the flickering light of oil lamps cast dancing shadows along the corridors. At the heart of this peculiar establishment was Clara, the compassionate caretaker. With her nurturing spirit and warm smile, she provided the children with a semblance of home, fostering a sense of belonging amidst the remnants of loss. Each day, Clara would gather the children for breakfast, their laughter echoing through the halls as they shared tales and dreams. They played games in the backyard, their innocent joy painting over the layers of sorrow that surrounded them. However, as night fell and the world outside grew still, an unsettling atmosphere would creep into the orphanage. It began with faint whispers, barely audible yet distinctly present, that seemed to curl around the corners of the rooms. The children exchanged glances, their eyes wide with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. On occasion, a chair would shift ever so slightly, or a door would creak open on its own, sending shivers down their spines. Yet Clara would reassure them that it was merely the house settling. But beneath the surface of this seemingly ordinary life, an invisible tension lingered, a sense of impending dread that hung like the thick fog that enveloped the grounds at dusk. The children, innocent yet perceptive, sensed that something was amiss, that the very walls of their sanctuary were alive with secrets waiting to be uncovered. As the days turned into weeks, the orphanage's fade of normalcy began to crack, revealing the dark history that lay beneath, threatening to awaken forces that should have remained undisturbed. As the days melted into nights, the whispers within the orphanage grew louder, weaving through the air like a chilling breeze. The children, once filled with laughter, now huddled together at bedtime, their wide eyes reflecting a growing fear. They spoke in hushed tones about the phantom voices that echoed softly in the dark, pleading or warning. They could never quite tell. Shadows slithered across the walls, shifting in ways that made them question their own senses. Was it their imagination, or was something or someone watching? The nightmares began to plague them as well. Each child, one by one, would awaken in a cold sweat, gasping for breath, their dreams haunted by indistinct figures and unsettling scenes. Clara, the caretaker, was drawn into the web of their terror. She found herself standing by their bedsides, comforting them with gentle words, but deep within her, an unsettling worry festered. She rationalized the whispers as mere figments of overactive imaginations, perhaps a manifestation of their troubled pasts. Yet, the more she dismissed them, the more pronounced the occurrences became. One night, Clara stood alone in the dimly lit hallway, straining to decipher the soft murmurs that seemed to drift from the shadows. Her heart raced as she felt a chill creep up her spine, a visceral reminder that she was not alone. The once familiar surroundings of the orphanage now felt foreign and hostile. She struggled to maintain her composure, fearing the impact of her own growing paranoia on the children. What if they sensed her fear? What if her attempts to rationalize the unexplainable only fueled their anxiety? The atmosphere thickened, each creak of the floorboards amplifying the tension. Clara's resolve began to waver as she witnessed the children's apprehension spiral into paranoia. They jumped at every sound, casting wary glances into the shadows, unwilling to turn their backs to the darkness. What once was a home had morphed into a haunting playground for an unseen presence, and Clara could only hope she would uncover the truth before it consumed them all. The air in the orphanage grew heavy, charged with an energy that crackled like static. It was no longer just whispers. The poltergeist had awoken, and its presence could be felt in every corner of the decrepit building. Objects began to fly across rooms, shattering the mundane peace that once enveloped the children. Toys would soar through the air, colliding against walls with a force that echoed through the halls, while doors slammed shut with a ferocity that rattled the very foundations of the orphanage. The once comforting shadows now twisted into terrifying shapes, and the laughter of the children turned into screams of terror. Clara raced through the corridors, her heart pounding as she tried to shield her wards from the escalating chaos. One evening, while she attempted to calm the children down after yet another violent outburst, a heavy wooden chair suddenly flew across the room, narrowly missing a small girl named Lily. The shrill cries of the children filled the air, drowning out Clara's attempts to reassure them. In the darkest hour of the night, the poltergeist made its intentions clear. Clara found herself standing in front of a door that had inexplicably swung open. The children huddled behind her, their eyes filled with fear. Suddenly, a chilling breeze swept through the hallway, and the air turned frigid. A ghostly apparition materialized, a pale figure with hollow eyes and a gaping mouth, as if it were trying to scream. Clara instinctively stepped forward, her protective instincts kicking in, but the apparition pointed directly at a trembling boy named Ethan. "Ethan!" Clara shouted, her voice barely breaking through the cacophony of chaos. The boy stood frozen, his wide eyes locked onto the specter. The entity lunged towards him, and Clara leaped forward, pulling him back just in time. The dark energy coiled around them, whispering secrets of pain and despair as Clara fought to hold the terrified child close, shielding him from the malevolent spirit that sought to claim him. The atmosphere thickened with dread as Clara realized the true danger they faced. This was no longer just a haunting, it was a battle for the souls of the innocent children caught in the web of the orphanage's dark past. With each violent act, the poltergeist revealed itself, and Clara understood that she must confront the malevolence or risk losing the children forever. As the chaos within the orphanage escalated, Clara felt an urgent need to understand the source of the malevolence plaguing her home. Days turned into sleepless nights as she unearthed dusty tomes and yellowed documents hidden in the orphanage's attic. With a flickering flashlight illuminating the pages, she stumbled upon a history that chilled her to the bone, an account of the land upon which the orphanage was built. The burial ground was not just a resting place for the deceased. It was a site of ancient rituals that had once sought to appease vengeful spirits. Clara read of a tribe that had inhabited the area centuries ago, conducting dark ceremonies to harness the powers of the dead. Among the pages, she found illustrations of grotesque masks and sacrificial altars, symbols of suffering and despair that echoed through time. The more she read, the more she understood that the poltergeist haunting the orphanage was not merely a spirit seeking attention. It was a tortured soul, trapped by the atrocities committed on this very land. Her heart raced as she pieced together the chilling narrative that linked the children's torment to these dark rituals. The entity, she realized, was drawn to the innocence of the children, seeking to reclaim the power stolen from it long ago. The poltergeist's violent outbursts were desperate attempts to connect, to be recognized, and ultimately to exert control over the living. Clara's discoveries sent shivers down her spine as she recognized the gravitas of her situation. The children were not just victims, they were pawns in a horrifying game played by a restless spirit. With each revelation, Clara felt a growing sense of urgency. She gathered the children one evening, her mind racing with fear, yet fueled by the desire to protect them. As she shared the history of the land, she saw their faces pale, fear mingling with a newfound understanding. The poltergeist was not merely a ghost, it was a manifestation of their shared trauma, and the land's dark legacy. Clara knew she had to confront this malevolence and uncover a way to release the children from its grasp before it was too late. The presence of the poltergeist began to weave a tapestry of psychological torment that ensnared the children in a web of fear and vulnerability. Each night, as shadows deepened, the malevolent spirit would manifest its power, exploiting the children's deepest insecurities. For some, it whispered promises of strength and control, leading them to the dark allure of its supernatural abilities. Ethan, once a timid boy, felt a strange connection to the entity, as it flattered him with the suggestion that he could be more than just another orphan. He could be powerful. Yet, for others, the entity's influence was a source of paralyzing dread. Lily, the small girl who narrowly escaped the flying chair, began to withdraw into herself, her laughter replaced by a haunting silence. The poltergeist would appear to her in dreams, its chilling presence wrapping around her like a suffocating shroud. Clara watched helplessly as the children struggled against their own minds. The entity played on their fears, amplifying their vulnerabilities until each child spiraled into their own personal nightmare. Desperately, Clara sought to shield them from the spirit's grasp. She organized nightly gatherings to create a sense of safety, drawing the children close around her in a comforting embrace. Yet, even as she spoke tenderly to them, the air crackled with tension, the whispers growing louder, taunting her attempts at normalcy. The poltergeist was relentless, manipulating their thoughts and emotions, sowing seeds of doubt and discord among the children. Why do you listen to her? She can't help you, it would hiss, echoing through the halls. In one particularly harrowing moment, Clara found herself in a tug-of-war within the orphanage. As she tried to comfort Ethan, who was increasingly drawn toward the spirit's promises, the shadows thickened around them, and the whispers became a cacophony of mocking laughter. Clara realized that this was not just a battle for the children's safety, it was a test of her own resolve. She had to find a way to break the poltergeist's hold before it turned the innocence of the children against them, manipulating them into a darker fate. The atmosphere within the orphanage reached a fever pitch as Clara, armed with the knowledge of the burial ground's dark past, prepared for the inevitable confrontation. The children huddled together, their faces a mix of fear and determination, each child now aware of the stakes. The poltergeist, sensing their resolve, manifested in a terrifying form, an amalgamation of shadows and fury. Its eyes glowed with a malevolence that chilled their bones. Clara felt its presence surge through the air, a physical force that pressed against her chest as if to suffocate her. "Stay behind me!" Clara shouted, her voice strong despite the tremor in her heart. The children clung to one another, their breaths shallow, as the poltergeist's laughter echoed through the halls, mocking their courage. It lifted furniture with a flick of its ethereal hand, sending chairs crashing to the ground, and the walls trembled as it unleashed its fury. "You think you can stop me?" The spirit hissed, its voice a blend of sorrow and rage. "I will claim what is mine." Clara, drawing on the history she had unearthed, shouted back, "You are bound to this land by your own pain. We will not be your pawns." The words seemed to resonate, momentarily halting the spirit's assault. Clara knew she had to reach the core of its anguish. "You were wronged. The rituals, they took your power, but we can help you find peace." In that moment, the poltergeist hesitated, its form flickering like a dying flame. The children, encouraged by Clara's bravery, began to chant together, their voices rising in unity. "We are here. We are not afraid." Their collective strength surrounded Clara, forming a barrier of warmth against the encroaching darkness. The spirit screamed, a sound that echoed with centuries of torment as it struggled against the light of their courage. Yet, just as victory seemed within reach, the poltergeist surged forward, its wrath unleashed. Clara felt the cold grip of fear wrap around her heart as the entity lashed out, knocking Ethan to the ground. Panic surged through her. "Ethan!" she cried, rushing to pull him back as the shadows clawed at them, whispering lies, sowing doubt. For a heartbeat, it felt as if they were lost. But Clara, fueled by the love for her charges, faced the spirit head-on, her voice cutting through the chaos. "You are not alone. We can help you find the peace you seek." In that instant, the children, emboldened by Clara's fierce determination, rallied together, channeling their shared strength. They reached out, forming a circle around Clara and Ethan, their hands clasped tight. The poltergeist writhed, a tempest of anguish and rage, as Clara's unwavering resolve began to pierce through its darkness. The battle was both physical and psychological, a struggle for their very souls against a spirit that had long been shackled by its own despair. The climax of the haunting reached its zenith as Clara and the children summoned their collective courage, channeling their strength to confront the malevolent spirit that had tormented them for so long. With each chant, the air vibrated with a raw energy, illuminating the dim hallway of the orphanage. Clara felt an overwhelming sense of purpose wash over her, a protective force emanating from the children that fortified her resolve. They were no longer mere victims. They were warriors reclaiming their sanctuary. As the poltergeist writhed in a tempest of shadows, its anguished wails echoed through the orphanage, pleading for release, yet filled with fury. Clara stood firm, her heart pounding as she shouted, "You can find peace! We will help you!" The children, emboldened by her words, repeated the mantra, their voices rising in a chorus that filled the air with warmth and light. The spirit recoiled, its form flickering and distorting as if caught in the throes of an existential battle. With one final push, Clara and the children directed their energy towards the spirit, their united voices piercing through the veil of darkness. A blinding flash enveloped the room, and as the light expanded, the poltergeist let out a final harrowing scream.
In an instant, the oppressive weight that had burdened the orphanage lifted, replaced by an overwhelming sense of calm. The children blinked in the sudden brightness, their faces reflecting a mixture of relief and disbelief as the spirit disintegrated into a shower of glimmering dust, dissipating into the very air they breathed. However, as the echoes of the spirit's rage faded, a heaviness settled over the survivors. Clara knelt beside Ethan, who lay trembling on the floor, the adrenaline of the confrontation still coursing through their veins. The children clung to one another, their relief tainted by the shadows of trauma that had etched themselves into their hearts. They had faced a nightmare and emerged victorious, yet the scars of their experience would linger long after the echoes of the spirit had faded. Though the orphanage felt lighter, Clara sensed that the battle had left a mark on the children, a lingering fear that would not easily dissipate. As she gazed out the window, she noticed the forest beyond, its trees whispering secrets unknown.
A shiver ran down her spine. While they had banished the malevolent spirit, the dark history of the land could not be so easily forgotten. The past was a living entity, and Clara understood that their victory was but a chapter in a much larger story, one that had yet to reveal its true nature. Months had passed since the confrontation with the poltergeist, and the orphanage had transformed into a place of healing and recovery. Clara, ever the devoted caretaker, worked tirelessly alongside the children, helping them rebuild their lives both physically and emotionally. The laughter of the children had returned, echoing through the sunlit halls where once only whispers of fear had lingered. They played games in the backyard, their smiles a testament to their resilience, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers, a symbol of hope amidst the shadows of the past. Clara often organized gatherings where the children would share their stories, each tale a thread weaving them closer together. They spoke of their fears, their dreams, and the strength they had found within themselves. The bond they forged in the face of terror became their sanctuary, a shield against the darkness that had once threatened to consume them. Yet, despite the outward appearances of normalcy, Clara could not shake the feeling that something was amiss. On quiet evenings, as she watched the children drift into peaceful slumber, she felt a chill brush past her, an echo of the sinister presence that had haunted them. It was subtle, a fleeting shadow in the corner of her eye, a soft whisper that seemed to call her name when the wind howled through the trees. One night, as the moon cast a silvery glow over the orphanage, Clara sat alone in the old rocking chair, listening to the gentle rhythm of the children's breathing. Suddenly, the air grew heavy, and she felt an unmistakable coldness wrap around her like a forgotten memory. A faint rustling echoed from the attic, drawing her gaze upward. Her heart raced as she stood, the warmth of her earlier confidence faltering. With her heart pounding, Clara took a cautious step toward the staircase leading to the attic, where the secrets of the orphanage still lingered. She hesitated for a moment, a sense of dread pooling in her stomach. Had they truly banished the spirit, or had it merely retreated, waiting for the right moment to return? As she stood at the base of the stairs, the whispers returned soft, insistent, and filled with a longing that sent shivers down her spine. The past had not been erased. Its echoes were merely waiting for their chance to resurface.